Welcome back to the Mail-In Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Merriman. In front of me, he's the host of Club Cool, and you may know his fashion takes far and wide. You put up a story yesterday from Club Cool Pod that I may have watched it a couple times, just getting some inspiration. That's Barrett Dudley across from me. Barrett, what's going on, man?
Oh, not too much. Happy to be here. This is my first time on the Brett Merriman hosted Mail-In, so I'm very excited about this. This is one of the best podcasts watched too. I mean, they're all good, but this is a fun one, and we're in the new studio as well. Got these bright lights shining down on me, so it's just it's a good day to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's a great day to be here. Happy to have you. Pumped to have you on. I have some Barrett specific questions,
Okay.
which I'm excited about.
All right.
And it's just the new studio takes a little bit of getting used to because you're just kind of used to the old sight lines. You're used to the old interaction.
Yep.
And I feel like I want to be doing more of a performance.
Absolutely.
Now?
Like we just recorded Club Cool, and like Phil and I were both kind of like looking over to the cameras as if we were, sitting at like an ESPN desk, talking about the NBA draft or something. So
exactly. There's a hint of like morning news here that I need
absolutely.
to be.
Yeah.
My newscaster voice needs to be popping out. But we're happy to have you. We've played a little phone tag here with like, can you do this week? No, I can't do this week. Can do next week. Oh, I got somebody else scheduled. So we got Barrett Dudley in the mix. Happy for him happy for us to be here with Barrett. We got Adam on the ones and twos over there. And if this is your first time listening to the Mail-In Podcast, what is the Mail-In Podcast? Well, we do our best to answer your questions. You may run into situations in your 20s or 30s that you need help with, and we're here to do just that. Get a laugh in, maybe walk away with something useful. That's kind of what we're here for, Barrett. How can you help us out at the Mail-In Podcast? You can tell a friend about it. It's the easiest way to get into washed media. Send them a clip or a segment that makes sense. There will be more clips coming, courtesy of Adam. Shouts to him. Subscribe on iTunes and follow on Spotify, or you can hit the hotline number, leave a voicemail, 888-362-MAIL. That's 888-362-6245, or hop in the Twitter or Instagram bio at Mail-In Podcast for the link to write in and leave a question that way. Barrett, before we get to the questions, I ask every new guest this.
Okay.
And this goes back to our early days here. What was your screen name back in the day, and were you an AIM guy or AIM guy?
Do you mean what did I call the program? Like
yes.
AIM.
Okay.
Or I think that's what we called it, is AIM. Instant Messenger. And yeah, man, AIM was a giant deal for us. And I know I'm a little bit older than you, and so very much came from like that Pen 15 era of like constantly subtweeting your crushes or your frenemies like in your away message.
100%.
And just that whole thing of like just waiting for the creaking door sound to open and like hoping it was going to be, a certain person or a certain friend or a certain crush. So
you mean like,
so yeah, that's the one.
I had the door too.
Not exactly a creaking door. It's funny that's like what I was. That's exactly what I was hearing in my in my head, but not the way I would describe it after hearing it. Yeah. So I had two screen names. They're gonna make a lot of sense if you know what I'm all about, or if you know the content of the podcast that I do here at Club Cool. The first one was Adidas 9R. Adidas was like my favorite brand at the time, and also the cleats that I wore for playing soccer, which the back half of that also references 9R was for Ronaldo. And I'm talking original Ronaldo here. Bald Brazilian Ronaldo, not Cristiano Ronaldo.
Wow.
Yes, OG Ronaldo. Then I eventually thought, I'm not that into soccer anymore. This screen name, it's a little weird. So I had to switch the brands that I repped.
Interesting.
So I switched it to an obscure reference to a snowboarding brand called Atlantis.
Oh,
and so I was Atlantis SB Co.
For like Atlantis snowboard, like you were the Atlantis snowboard.
I was the brand. Yes, I
had a branded account.
I had
before
squatted on the branded AIM account. Yes. So I guess that tracks, right? Like always, like that invested and interested and attached to certain brands.
Absolutely.
But Yeah, probably not as fun as like the people that were like, Zany Balls 69, but it is what it is. That was me.
One of my friends, Kelly, who's been on this podcast before, she had the original Cool Sexy Babe. No underscores, no numbers. She was just Cool Sexy Babe. I was like, that you could probably sell that these days. But what was that brand, Barrett, that when we played soccer as like 9-year-olds, everybody had this brand. It had like, it was like squares on the shorts, and they kind of felt like Umbro.
Yeah.
Is that still around?
Umbro, it fell out of favor, and I think they may have kind of bellied up for a while, because I want to say that, I don't know if Target bought Umbro, but I remember that Umbro had a bit of a resurgence and was like being sold directly at Target for a while.
Interesting.
I'm not sure if that's still happening. I do not know the current status of Umbro.
It feels like a Uniqlo or something would pick up Umbro, try to spin it off, and just let it die a slow death.
Yeah, definitely. That brand, you would think that, especially with like the 90s being so hot right now.
Yes.
And you may have just heard Phil and I like having a conversation off mic about like the short shorts that are so popular right now. Like Umbro definitely seems like a brand that somebody should pick up and try to kind of revitalize. But yeah, it hasn't totally happened yet.
It has not. I would love it. I used to wear the Umbro shorts with like the cool lines on the side.
Yep.
Constantly. And I didn't even play soccer, Adam. I never played soccer. Adam is he doesn't know what AIM is.
That does not surprise
me. That kind of hurt the first time. I was like, okay, I'm not that old. I'm 27. And I was like, what is AIM? What is AIM?
Yeah.
Man?
Yeah.
How about, Barrett, we get to some questions?
Let's do it.
First one, this is a very Barrett-specific question. Hey, guys. First question here. 1, what is the optimal number of buttons to unbutton on a button up at work and at the discoteca? And a follow-up, what is the perfect date outfit for a guy? Please do all 4 seasons. FYI, I live in Texas. Barrett, how many buttons are you going on your button up or button down? I guess, first of all, what do you call it?
Yeah, so if you want to get technical about it, it is a button up. A button down specifically refers to a button down collar.
Oh, interesting.
So when you say, so we've, and don't get me wrong, like I've definitely called it a button down before. Mm-hmm. That's what makes the most sense to people a lot of times. But a button down, like, kind of in the industry actually refers to like an OCBD, an Oxford cloth button down, or a button down collar on a sports shirt or a casual shirt or a dress shirt. So it is technically a button up. That is referring to the shirt itself.
Interesting.
And
okay.
How you put it on and
that debate has been settled. Do not at me in the Discord. Barrett Dudley has just dropped the knowledge.
Yeah. And so I think I'm not wearing one right now, but I think for like business casual, I have 2 undone.
Okay.
I definitely do more than just the top one. That looks too stuffy to me. Mm-hmm. Too like, Baker Bots, too like, I'm stuck in the accounting department and like I don't have any fun. Like I think you can get away with more than just that top button.
Right. After the tie button, right?
There's the tie button is the very top one.
Yep. And that almost doesn't count in this situation.
Right. So 2 buttons total.
Yes.
But definitely one more than that very top one. And then I think that at the discotheque, honestly, all bets are off. But you can definitely, before you even walk in, you go one more. Mm-hmm. And then, as I'm sure you saw in photos, I think both of us actually missed the meetup this past weekend. But then, you let the juice start flowing, and whatever feels right is right. And you can go, hell, you can just go all the way undone, man.
I'll tell you what, I think I like the rule that it's like every drink.
Yeah, every drink is another button.
Another button done.
Yeah,
yep.
Definitely.
And that's just Dylan. Friend of the program, Dylan Chevery, showing off. Yeah,
right.
You swim at Lifetime, dude. Thanks for sharing. And then, now that that's settled, because I was intrigued by this question too. Perfect date outfit for a guy. Let's assume it's a first date.
Yeah.
Because once you're in a relationship, it's like, oh, joggers and a t-shirt, sure. 4 seasons of date outfits.
Okay, so he says for all 4 seasons, but that he lives in Texas, and so really that's only like
2 seasons.
2 seasons.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's either hot or it's like kind of cold.
Yeah,
and very rarely
stuffy.
Yeah, very rarely are you going to experience really anything outside of that. This is obviously like a kind of an impossible question to answer unilaterally because everybody is different and everybody has their own personal style. But I think that you want to look relaxed and casual, but you also want to look put together. Mm-hmm. So, I think kind of like, I don't think you want to look too traditional. I don't think you want to look too trendy. So, I think that kind of like in our day and age, by the way, if this is a dinner date and this is your first date, there are really almost like rules instead of like what should you wear. So a couple of my rules would be don't wear shorts on your first date if you're going to dinner. Okay. Really, even like unless your first date is like patio bar on a Saturday, I wouldn't wear shorts. Okay. It's like a thing of like I think pants just show that you're taking something more seriously. You consider this an important thing that you're doing, right? And then the second piece of that, which should be obvious, but like, don't wear flip-flops on a first date.
It is the summer of chinos and flip-flops, Barrett. I don't know if you are aware.
Are you committed? Are you so committed to it that you'd go chinos and flip-flops on a first date?
No, never. Okay. Because that is, as I've been told, a very much a turnoff by my significant other of multiple years at this point.
It's like chinos and flip-flops, and I've seen you do it, and it's like you put out like a kind of rakish enough vibe that it works for you. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's like, to get away with it on a date, I think you have to look like Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, you have to.
You know,
you have to
exude that like very good looking and very like comfortable and casual and like I'm about to play the bongos later tonight type deal.
100%. Adam, did you hear he just was like, you're not good looking enough to pull off the chinos and flip flops look, and that is going straight to the heart.
Sorry, Brett. I hate to. I don't mean to bury you like that, but you know what I mean,
yes.
Right?
It is it's becoming a popular look in like the hockey circles where the guys they their legs are incredible, so they can pull off these tighter chinos, put the flip-flops on. We're not talking Jack Johnson jeans where the bottom of the jean is below the heel of the rainbow.
Yeah.
No. It's got to be a more or less a tailored chino.
And when you see the hockey guys doing this, is it flip-flops or is it like Birkenstocks or like a leather sandal?
I've seen both. I've seen both, but most, your traditional rainbow thong flip-flop.
I mean, yeah, look. You've got a significant other.
I do.
You're established in a relationship. You go chinos and flip-flops all you want, man.
My man.
It's just not what I'm suggesting for a first date. So to get to what I would suggest, I think like jeans or chinos in a not skinny but not baggy, just a nice slim fit. I would probably go with like clean sneakers over like a loafer or a dress shoe. And then, in the warmer months, I think you're talking like either depending on where you're going, how formal or how nice it is. I think you're either like looking for like one of your best T-shirts or like a short sleeve button up. And right now, obviously, the camp collar, the more spread out collar is kind of, I think if you want to show that you're like a more fashionable guy. If you're a little bit more traditional, then maybe you go with like a standard, just kind of like regular button up, but short sleeve to keep things casual. And that I think is just kind of like, I think that just kind of takes everything out of the equation. You're not looking like a finance bro, and you're not looking like you're a fashionista either.
Sure.
And that kind of allows you to just kind of sell yourself instead of sell what you're wearing. And then for colder months, it's basically the exact same thing, except for, throw on like some type of, I think once you're into cooler months, you do get to flex a little bit more with an outerwear choice.
Absolutely.
Whether it's like a denim jacket or a bomber or, if you live in like Austin or Dallas, you can get away with like a leather, something like that. Definitely if you live in New York or Chicago or LA. I think you're just keeping it clean, keeping it casual, and keeping the fit of everything really flattering for your body, and then avoiding anything that like has too many connotations.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I like that. There's something that when I think of a first date outfit, I think you want to be, you like you mentioned, you want to exude that you are trying, right? You clean up, you can do this, but you don't want to be over the top.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want questions about your outfit, which is why I wouldn't go to chinos and flip flops.
Right.
But like white sneakers are very, very in.
Yes.
I'd call it. And maybe they've never left, but right now, my closet's just white sneakers of varying lengths and sizes, and then really into the chino look, and then very into the nicer T-shirt look, because while I do like the striped dry fit polo with a collegiate logo on it when I'm golfing, that is the outfit of every person who lives here.
Yeah.
And maybe you feel comfortable in something like that. I don't want to offend thousands of listeners on this very podcast who go out every weekend in khaki shorts, a striped untucked polo, mid calves, and white New Balances.
Yeah.
Which you see up and down 6th Street, right? But I guess I wanted your thoughts on that specific look, because my significant other, she's a fan of that look, and she went to an SEC school. It was like that.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying with like with the connotations, right? Like if you wear a golf polo and like a dry fit golf polo and khaki shorts, like you are giving away what type of school you went to. You were probably in a fraternity, and like pretty much like what industry you're in right now.
Boom.
And so that's if you're okay with saying all of those things and like letting those things kind of speak almost before you do, then by all means, like go for it, right? But for the same reason that like on the flip side, like I am not going to wear like my trendiest, most expensive, like most funked up stuff on a first date, because like I don't want to necessarily lead with like, hey, I love spending money on clothes.
Yes.
I'm gonna need more closet space than you are.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to say that on a first date.
Gotcha.
And so that's why I'm basically taking the look that you described and maybe something that like that I would consider like kind of super fashionable or super trendy, and I'm coming back to like this very cleaned up middle where you're not really giving too much away about, you know, where you're from, what you do, what school you went to, and who your friends are right now.
I love it. It's like you see the crews out. It's like 12 guys on Rainy Street, and just various striped polos with a country club logo, a collegiate logo, XYZ, you name it.
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all went out and said, I'm going to do this, and you probably do it every single day, and there's nothing wrong with it, because I do it on occasion. But, that's funny. You know who else where I've seen that look plenty, Barrett, is barbecues.
Okay.
And you know who's helping me out at barbecues this summer? Our friends over at Butcher Box.
Ooh.
Summer is all about savoring every moment, and grilling is one of my favorite things to do in the summer. We have 2 community grills at my apartment complex that are awesome. One's charcoal, one's gas. I like cooking on both, but Butcher Box has been hooking me up this summer in terms of getting some dinners done. And I get outside with the ribs that they send me, and I'm cooking. They're like, oh my God, are you doing, like, people are doing grilled chicken, which is fine, but I'm out there doing ribs and stuff. And they're like, man, you guys you're cooking up over here. I'm like,
beautiful,
yes, sir.
Cuts of meat.
Beautiful.
That's always impressed me about the Butcher Box, is you're just like, this is like next level, like, you know, butcher cuts, not just your run-of-the-mill, like, get it in a plastic package from the grocery store.
100%. Yeah. It is high-quality stuff. ButcherBox delivers humanely sourced meat of your choosing right to your doorstep. Options like 100% grass-fed and finished beef, free-range organic chicken, humanely raised pork, wild-caught lobster tails, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, and sugar or nitrate-free bacon. Each box ships with 9 to 11 pounds of meat, packed fresh, shipped frozen, and vacuum sealed, making it simple to store in the freezer and grab later for a delicious meal. I'm a ribs guy, personally. I love their bacon, like I said. And whether you're customized your box or ordered a curated selection, you're always getting high-quality choices and high-quality cuts of meat, no matter what you do. It's super convenient. Love having it just delivered to my door. Pop it in the freezer. You're good to go. And you just don't have to worry about going to the store and being like, oh, is this cut better than this cut, and kind of standing there, and why is this more expensive than this? ButcherBox takes all that out of the equation for you. It's awesome. Luckily, today's sponsor, ButcherBox, wants to celebrate you this summer. Right now, they're offering new members 2 free lobster tails and 2 free ribeyes in your first box.
Man.
Depending on where you are, Barrett, that's hundreds of dollars of value.
Seriously.
So you can share a high-quality surf and turf meal with friends or just enjoy it by yourself. Here's the process. It's super simple. Sign up and choose your box and delivery frequency. They offer 4 curated boxes and a custom box that lets you choose your favorite cuts. Ships your order frozen at the peak freshness and packed in eco-friendly 100% recyclable box. And you enjoy high-quality meat delivered to your door and more time for amazing meals together. ButcherBox is offering listeners 2 5-ounce lobster tails, like I said, and 2 10-ounce ribeyes for free. And your first box, you can only get this special deal when you sign up for a new membership at butcherbox.com/mailin. That's butcherbox.com/mailin for free lobster tails and free ribeyes in your first box. Cannot beat that, Barrett. Let's do a voicemail.
Yo, what's up, big game? This is Sean from the Seattle area. I just went on my first date in about 2 years, and she was a real catch. I'm just wondering what your procedure is after the first date. You know, you might not know because you're batting 1,000 on dating apps, but how do you work your way into that second date? You know, do you wait 3 days? Do you text him 5 minutes after proposing, telling him you love him? I don't know. I'm just a little bit curious. So, yeah, Brett and esteemed guests, please help me out here. All right. Take care, boys.
The procedure after a first date, Barrett, I included this one because a lot of the times we dance around this question or mention, somebody's about to go on a first date, and we kind of have that procedure. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we've ever established or mentioned the air quotes here, the rules of a post-first date engagement. So do you have any off the top of your head that you can remember?
Man, the truth is, it has been so long since I had to do this that I honestly don't know what I would do. And I also don't understand. Like, I feel like the rules kind of change over the years.
Okay.
And as things like dating apps have become so popular, and like everybody's meeting on Hinge now, and like, I don't have a good sense for whether people are out there still playing games, basically. Mm-hmm. Like, do you still have to put on this front of like, for her to be interested or for him to be interested, I got to be a little uninterested. I don't know. I think that I'm kind of guessing here, but I would say that after first date, like, I would not text that night, because I would be worried about looking a little too clingy or cloying or like kind of worried that I'm not going to talk to you again, you know?
Yep.
But I also don't think that there's anything wrong with like following up the next day and being like, loved last night. When can we do it again?
Yep.
Or suggesting a day to do it again. So I would ignore like the whole, like, wait 3 days to follow up. That just in our society today, where like everything happens so fast and we can't even stay on a news story for more than like 3 hours. Like, I think that's asking for both of you to be moving on to the next thing, like waiting that length of time.
I agree. I'm going to indict the traditional rules of engagement here that have been written in, numerous puff op-eds, right? That are like the rules of a first date, like,
or books or movies or TV or like whatever it is that like taught us that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's by feel. You go on a first date, and I don't the kissing on the first date, the whatever on it's situation by situation, and I don't think there's no rule book that you should go by. Go by feel on these things. I will say, like, go on a first date, get a drink, have fun. I will touch me when you get home, make sure you're safe, yada, yada, boom. And then probably not converse a whole lot that night unless it went great.
Yeah, I mean,
you're like having a glass of wine on your couch, right?
If something happens and like the conversation starts flowing again, like over text, then that, by all means. But yeah, you definitely, like you're saying, you got to read the situation as well. And if you see those 3 dots and then they disappear, you back off a little bit too, right?
100%. I think the one, like you mentioned, the next day, hey, had a blast last night. What's your schedule like on Thursday? Or would you want to do something again Thursday? Get it out of the way. You don't no need to wait 3 days to guess about an attraction that, or if you didn't have an attraction, hey, last night was fun. You want to let them down, just say, hey, probably see this as friends. Would love to still be friends, run in the same circle. Let's connect our net, whatever. But I think the day after is a perfect time to say whether you want to continue this, whether you don't. Boom.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm with you, and I think that kind of like you're saying, like the next day, you both probably know whether you want to do it again. So there's it's not like you're going to change your mind. Either of you is going to change your mind over the course of 72 hours instead of 24. So reach out, see if you want to do it, see if you can make it happen again.
The one thing I wouldn't do is be like, good morning, like smiley face. Like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
You're not getting to that point. Poor Adam's like, fuck. So you don't get in the relationship already.
Right.
But you kind of wait, mid-morning, mid-afternoon. Hey, had a blast last night, yada, yada. Let's do it again. And then probably you're not conversing a whole lot that day either, right? Unless you're kind of more or less setting another date. Second date goes well. That's when you can start with the
the texting flirtation, the kind of
exactly.
the chat. Yeah. I definitely feel like you probably need 2 dates until you have enough of a rapport to start doing that.
Sure.
Except for in those rare circumstances where it's just like everything clicked. And when that happens, I feel like if that happens, if first date happens and it's just like, oh my God, that was perfect. You both it just happens. You'll both start texting each other and nonstop and calling and like you're getting married in 6 months.
Yeah.
So
you get the Snapchats involved. It's all, but you know what? I was just thinking about this. There's a unique new to this generation that maybe this relationship started on Hinge and you had to get some of that.
Sure.
That banter in a way out of the way. So then you go meet in person. And then now it's like, okay, we got the in-person questions out of the way, the talks. We have the banter's already been had on Hinge because you're not just, hey, you're cute, want to go out, like on Hinge. You have to have some sort of rapport already. So then it's almost like, does the talking have to stop for a night or two? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's a very unique thing to our generation where it's not meet the person based on attraction, have a sentence or two, then ask somebody on a date, and then it goes from there. It's like you kind of already built this. You go on the date, you get it all out, and then there's like a, whoa, what's next type of thing.
Yeah.
So maybe it is, I do like giving it some time with no communication, but not 3 days, not 2, whatever the rules are these days.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. But, yeah, it's just interesting stuff. I haven't been on a first date in a minute, so I don't know. I don't know if that advice was good, but I did want to see if you had an opinion on it.
Yeah, I think just go with your gut, man. But definitely say how you feel. Don't wait too long, and at the same time, like, play it cool.
Yep.
Like, don't like he joked. Like, don't start talking about babies and proposing and going with the whole good morning, what do you want for breakfast type thing. Like right off jump.
Don't do that unless you explicitly do it. And you sit down and you break the ice, be like, okay, what are we naming our kids? And then it's like, haha, funny. Oh, man. Let's do the next one, Barrett.
Let's go for it.
Hi, crew. I wanted to get your thoughts on bringing a girlfriend on a guy's trip. For a little background, we started planning this guy's trip just a weekend at the lake, and soon after the one dude asked if he could bring his girlfriend. If not, he wouldn't be able to come. We're in our mid-20s and about half the group is single. Now another guy asks if other ladies can come. Personally, I'd rather it be a dude's trip. And part of me would rather see my friend come with his girlfriend than not at all. I think the ladies would dampen the mood and my friends would be a little tied down. And follow-up question, if the girlfriends come, should they split the cost evenly compared to the couples being counted as one in the cost breakdown?
Sticky situation, Brett.
Yeah, this dude's like, I just wanted to see my boys at the lake, and now we're introducing a whole other, because a dude's trip is very, very different than a couple's trip in terms of activities and food choices at the grocery store and alcohol and
especially in mid-20s.
In the for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Those are two very different trips. Man, I'll start here. So I'm about a decade older than our caller, our listener here.
Okay.
But I've very recently undergone a similar experience because I've been in a fantasy football league that's on its like 12th or 13th season.
Yep.
And several years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, as we like all scattered and like moved to different cities, we essentially established a set weekend in August every year, unmovable. This is when we all get together for our live draft. Mm-hmm. We plan it out. We've done several different locations. We've been to Boston. We've done lake trips. We've done like, other cities. And we established that weekend like, in our mid to late 20s so that it was set.
Gotcha.
We've had a nice little run here of 5 or 6 trips.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic obviously interrupted last year's.
Sure.
And as we headed into 21s, a lot of these guys have multiple kids now. Everybody is pretty much wifed up or has a long-term significant other. And this trip, and therefore the league, was hanging by a thread.
Oh, no.
Because there was so little like hubbub and excitement around it. And people were dancing around the fact that like they didn't have the social capital with their wives and families to like escape for this weekend in this given year. Mm-hmm. And we had to break the ice. Finally, somebody was like, we gotta include the WAGs now to make this happen this year.
Okay.
And I am, the unmarried, no kids guy.
Yep.
So I, of course, like bristled at this immediately, like a lot like our listener is here. The only way to make this trip happen this year and to get our draft done live was to include everybody, was to open it up. And we had the same conversation where it's like, well, do we just let this one person who needs to bring his wife to make this happen, like do that? That doesn't make sense. If we're going to have one wife, then we just might as well have all the wives. And so it is now like a kind of joint trip, and it's not going to be as like raucous or exciting as the bros only trip might have been. But you also got to understand that that this just happens sometimes, and we're going to get to a question in a minute here, where somebody's asking about the under 30 bucket list.
Yeah.
And mid-20s is actually a great time to get in this co-ed couples trip, because I promise you, man, once people do start getting married and having kids, it is nearly impossible to put them together. And it sucks because group trips are more fun than solo trips.
Yeah.
Sorry, they are. It's fun to have other couples and your friends there with you. Like, don't get me wrong, love spending QT with the significant other or the spouse, but like having other people to vibe out with and go to the pool with and go to dinner with is like pretty great. 100%. So to that end, I'm tempted to tell him to just embrace it.
Yeah.
But his age is also like a factor here, because in your mid-20s, you also want to get in those dudes trips. The thing is, also because of your age, I'm sure that you and your crew probably have nominally 6 or 7 bachelor parties left on the schedule.
Yep.
So just like, you're gonna get the bros trips too. I think you're still safe in like having that time. And it sounds like for this one, you might as well just let everybody bring their significant others.
Yeah, I think especially if you already have this guys trip planned, like all of those guys in this group are going to have a bachelor party at some point.
Yeah.
So you already have those lined up. So think of this as a deposit on those trips, right? And like I think you're not giving these girls enough credit.
Probably not.
Because if half the group is single, some of the significant others are going to bring friends. It's going to turn into a fun trip.
A fun trip.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can still get some guy time in. Take the guys out on the boat, only guys, and the girls hang out, or vice versa, right? There will be moments where the guys can stay at the fire an hour longer and rip some whiskey, whatever you want to do. I think you embrace it. I understand where you're coming from. You want to be with the boys. You have like this guys trip. You built it up as a guys trip, and then one of the guys says, "Hey, I can't go unless, Sarah comes." And you're like, "Oh, come on, dude, really? Now we have to invite everybody," like you said. But I think you embrace it. I think trips like this can be made much more fun with girls involved. It's just everybody kind of has a blast. So I think you're right. You embrace it. As far as the financial ramifications, oh yeah, everybody's paying their share.
Everybody's paying their share.
Absolutely. You're no free lunch here.
Total number of people, divide that evenly, and then those dudes can decide if they're going to foot the bill for their significant other's portion. Yeah, but you do not. They don't just get like the same share and their plus one.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, they are not tacked on as an add-on. They are very much involved in this split.
He also says that like it sounds like another one of your friends already kind of made the decision when he cracked already. He asked if other ladies can come.
Yeah.
So that's that. I think the line, you already crossed the line, because the best option prior to that was telling your one friend like, sorry man, I guess you can't come then, because this is a dude's trip.
Right.
But the fact that somebody else was sneaky, like, oh yeah, I can bring my girlfriend now too.
Yeah, dude, like nice. Oh yeah, now so and so can come. Like we're good. Ugh.
Yeah. So that guy was probably just like waiting for the other friend to be like, gotta bring the GF if I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you've got a group trip on your hands now, not just a bros trip.
Absolutely. Embrace it. Shoot, bring a date of your own. Why not?
Yeah, or like you said, like invite some other, like ask if there are single dudes and get those girlfriends to bring some friends too.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then the cost goes down for everybody.
Exactly.
And there's going to be the one guy though that like had the bed lined up that no longer the bed is completely out of the trip for him. He's like, "Oh, I had the fourth bedroom."
Yeah, you're in the bunks now.
You're in the bunch. You're on the couch, because the couples, every couple's trip, the couple somehow gets the bed for some reason. It's like, oh, we get it. Like, but they're mid-20s. They're not married. That's a whole other road we can go down, because the couples always get the beds. It's like, okay. Let's do the next one, Barrett. Big game and esteemed guest. I'd love your thoughts on something. My question is, what would you guys include on a before 30 bucket list? For context, I've basically spent the first half of my 20s getting through college, thanks to working full-time and a year off for Army training. Thank you for your service. I wrote in about this a couple months ago, but I'm getting deployed at the end of August, and I'll be turning 25 in October, so I'm looking for ideas of how to make the most of the next 5 years once we get home. Love y'all. Under 30 bucket list. Barrett, how old are you officially?
34.
You are 34.
Yeah.
I am 27. Under 30 bucket lists. I have thoughts.
You start.
You want to... I don't even know where to start, but I will start by saying you change a lot in your 20s. And you learn a lot in your 20s. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about the world around you. And the person you are at 20 is a very different person than I was at 24, and now a very different person than I was at 27. And I'm sure at 29, I will look back and say the same exact thing. That being said, I don't know how much my bucket list in my 20s has changed from day one. I've always wanted to start a business. I've always wanted to go on, like you mentioned, solo trips are not as fun as group trips, but like a solo.
Okay.
Going like clear the head, sort of like a bachelor party for myself trip.
Like a walkabout style, like self-discovery. Yeah.
Sort of self. I was thinking like the example I would give is go to the Alps and ski up and down to different ski villages.
Sure.
And kind of crash and meet people. Meeting people is one of my favorite things in the world. If I had... I've said this before. If I had all the money in the world, I would open up a bar in a ski town and bartend. That's all I want to do, just to hear stories and meet people. I think that's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
So I guess when it comes to a bucket list, I want to meet people in locations that I cannot replicate often in my life, especially, you more or less the end of your 20s represents a change where you're expected to now get married, start a family, right? Which all things I want to do, but your 20s is the time to find yourself and figure out yourself before you get to that point, right? And so I think if you're going for specific things, I'm going to say I want to do a solo ski trip. I want to do a ski trip in a similar fashion with some of my best friends. So we have a house and, you do the guys, whatever. I want to do same vein as a golf trip. I want to set up a recurring golf trip that I do every single year with my best friends in the world, and I want to start a business. And I think like those are pretty solid things to start out with, and then I'm sure there's more that I could think of if I had more time. But that's my long way of saying that I still have things to do on my bucket list prior to 30.
Yeah. Most of what I will say will kind of piggyback on what you just laid out there, but I'll start it off with I was pretty touched by something that the creators of the show Friends said in the reunion special that they did for HBO Max a couple months back. And that was they were describing the show, and they were saying that this show is about the time in your life when your friends are your family. Mm-hmm. And that was so meaningful to me, because looking back on my 20s and like what was so great about that era is all the time and all the things that you get to do with your friends, whether it's like being idiots going to the bars on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, or getting to do group trips with no attachments to like, you know, to children at home, or to dogs, or to wives, or anything, all the responsibility that kind of starts mounting, you know, in your late 20s and as you hit 30 and then continue on, like in large part that doesn't exist when in your 20s. And I know it does for some people, and some people get married when they're young, or some people like, you know, have the weight of giant student loans, and so I was pretty lucky with the things that I had to be concerned about when I was in my 20s. But like you're saying, like that is the time when you have the freedom and the time to do things like group trips with your friends.
Yeah.
It's when you have the time to, to one of the things that I did not get to do that was on my bucket list. It was a plan of mine that I ended up kind of killing due to some failures my senior year of college. But like me and a buddy were going to go be ski instructors the year after we graduated from college.
Yeah.
We were big time riders, big time skiers, and we really wanted to go be ski bums for a year.
Yep.
And I fucked it up. But that type of thing, you've done something. I would loved to have spent a couple years giving a shot in New York City. It's like, I'm too old for that now. I can't afford it. I wouldn't have fun being poor in New York City like you might when you're 25 or 26 years old.
Yep.
Like that is a young person's game to go live that nonstop lifestyle and not really be concerned about, you know, what your 401k looks like, or like
100%.
saving up for a house that is continuing to become more and more unaffordable. So it's like, it really all boils down to experiencing the things that once you're in your 30s, there's too much weight on your shoulders. You have too many other things that you're concerned about, socially, financially, and personally. Those are the things you got to do in your 20s.
Yeah.
So that's kind of there's not really like, it's not so much boxes to check as it is like experiences that you think you might want to have. You got to pull trig when you're in your 20s.
Yep.
So go move to that new city that you've always wanted to live in.
100%.
Go on those trips that you think maybe you can't afford, but you're definitely not going to have the time for once you can afford them. And make the most of those years where you and your friends like have the time and the freedom to be each other's family.
Yep. I love that. I think you mentioned it with moving to a new city. It's like getting out of your comfort zone was a major goal of mine. You know, nothing against people who grow up in a city and stay in a city their whole lives and work and love it, because I know plenty of people who have done it in Saratoga Springs, my hometown. But I wanted to get back to the point where I was so new and so untethered by anything, and all I needed to be a golden retriever and just like say hello to everybody and try everything and look at life with that zest that I'm out of my comfort zone. There's nothing I can do but go forward right now and change and figure out myself. That's one thing I wanted to accomplish in my 20s, and I've done that with moving to Austin.
Yep.
So
yep.
That's not a heavy one, but that's one that I like introspectively looking at, because
definitely
you kind of have those plans or you have that mindset. You can kind of check in with yourself every once in a while, but I don't think we do that enough. And then all of a sudden you're in your 30s and you're like, shoot.
Yeah, it's a great question for our listener to have asked too, because like you're saying, like I didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
And there are definitely things that come up where I'm like, if I had asked this question, maybe I would have gotten a chance to do that.
Sure.
So.
I like that. And New York is fun, but I wouldn't do 3 years again. Let's hear from our friends over at Ritual, which should be a part of anyone in their 20s or 30s. We deserve to know what we're putting in our bodies and why, especially when it comes to something we take every single day. Ritual's clean, vegan-friendly multivitamin is formulated with high-quality nutrients in bioavailable forms that your body can actually use. Here's what you won't find, Barrett, in these vitamins. Sugars, nope. GMOs, nope. Major allergens, nuh-uh. Synthetic fillers, nope. And artificial colorants, no way. Plus, the fresh taste and delayed release capsule design makes taking your vitamins easy. When I'm taking my Ritual vitamins, first of all, I pop the top. The smell is fantastic. All little minty fresh, gets you going in the morning. Bang, bang. I take them, I pop them, and you can do them on an empty stomach because guess what? The vitamins are designed to go to parts of your stomach that are less sensitive, so you don't get any of that like vitamin-y breath or vitamin kind of nausea feeling. These things just take care of what you need in your diet every single day.
High-end science there.
The highest. The highest end science. It's a multivitamin reimagined. It contains key nutrients that your body can actually use to fill gaps in your diet. No shady extras like vitamin D3 in just 2 daily pills. They also have this supply chain that you can see where every ingredient came from all over the planet. It's crazy. Also, doesn't matter if you're just what stage of your life you're in, or if you're for a woman, a man, teens. Doesn't matter. Ritual has multivitamins that are scientifically developed to help support different life stages and anyone and everyone. I was trying to think of the one ingredient from Ritual. There's like zinc from Italy and something from like fish oil from Norway. It's incredible the way this is an internationally designed and developed multivitamin for you every single day. Get key nutrients without the BS. Ritual is offering listeners of this podcast 10% off during your first 3 months. Visit ritual.com/Randy to start your Ritual today. Let's do the next one, Barrett.
Let's go for it.
Hey, mail-in crew. So I'm thinking about getting a dog, but I've never had one and feel a little overwhelmed. I'm still working from home at least till the end of the summer, so I think now is a perfect time. I live alone, but have a fenced-in backyard and plenty of parks to take him to. I'm worried that I might be taking on too much, and I'm worried about what will happen when I eventually do go back to the office. Any advice? And I asked this question, one, because I'm considering this myself, and two, you are the puppy whisperer.
Yeah, we did the pandemic dog. It is a tough decision. It is the best time to get a dog right now if you are working from home because, man, it makes the whole experience much better, and you are there to let the dog out as many times as it needs to go and develop that relationship and start the training and doing all of that. The one like drawback to this is that after having a pandemic puppy where we have basically been at home with this dog for a year now, like I'm not sure how people did dogs when they weren't working from home and how I will ever do it any other way, because it's like once you have that dog and you realize kind of like how much attention they actually want and need. And then, like you're saying, then you think about like for the last 70 years or 100 years or whatever, where we've just like all like locked our dogs up for 10 hours a day. And then like they just sit around doing literally nothing, like bored off their asses, having to go to the bathroom for 8 hours while we're off at work. And it's just like, it was like kind of upsetting thinking about, man, have these dogs just all had shitty lives for all the dogs that I grew up with as a kid, and obviously know that they haven't. They don't have the same concept of time, and they're very adaptable, and they're very like, that
they like to sleep.
Dogs are dogs, and they sleep a lot too. And if when you're not there, that's what they do. They just go take naps. Yeah. So it is what it is. But at the same time, it's like you do have that feeling of like, man, how do you have a dog when you're not working from home? So to answer that question, as well as many other expenses you should prepare yourself for.
Yeah.
Like for the health and you know, mental and both physical and mental of your dog, you probably want to get ready for some days of doggy daycare. You know, I see a friend of the network, Cat Pat.
Yep.
I see her new dog in doggy daycare quite a bit.
Yeah.
Looks like it's having a blast. It's something that we are. Sunny was just spayed last month and has recovered from the surgery now, and we're like kind of like looking around for ones to kind of put her in, even though we are there most of the day.
Yeah.
Because these dogs, they want to play. They want to socialize
100%.
with other dogs. They will. That's the other part. When you are home all day, every day, they're going to bug the shit out of you too for all of that attention. And so it's, you know, it's a double-edged sword because it's like, yeah, it is a great time to do it. You're going to have you will have the time to be there for the dog. At the same time, you're going to feel more guilt than ever when you do go back to the office. And so you got to be ready to kind of like give the pup something to do, whether it can stay with a neighbor or a friend that has dogs during the day, or it needs to, you know, get some playtime for doggy daycare. Even if it's 2 times a week, 3 times a week, it's better than like having your dog sit in the house all day, every day for until the weekend rolls around.
I like that. That's interesting. I never thought about it that way, where that's kind of like a camp for dogs, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be every day. 3 times a week, twice a week, you go in, it gets a ton of social time.
Yep.
Be exhausted the next day.
Exactly.
Like, right. So,
yeah.
and I feel like this writer has already checked a few boxes too with a fenced in backyard.
That's huge. Absolutely huge.
Parts around, like, cause then you don't need to be worried about elevators and stairs, and you just take him out.
Yes.
Open the back door and he can run around and you don't have to worry about him or her getting out.
Yep. And the potty training is honestly pretty quick. And so once the pup is nominally like 3 to 4 months old, as long as your backyard is kind of safe for this, it's as easy as just letting the dog out, which is, as somebody that has had a dog in an apartment and now has one with a fenced in backyard, like
night and day
to just be able to open that door instead of having to gear up, get the collar on, do the leash walk, like the whole thing. And it's like, yeah, that's far more time consuming than this backyard option, which is definitely a big perk.
For sure. Well,
especially depending on the type of dog you
yes.
get, you know.
I will very much be reaching out to you and and other Washed Media members, because I'm teetering here.
Yeah. The only other thing to think about is like how often on the weekends do you kind of, and we didn't get an age here, but like how often do you find yourself, you know, going to brunch and then going to day drink and then like rolling that into dinner, and like, because if you're still having a lot of those days, it's kind of, those are great days, and it's kind of a bummer to have to be like, oh, I gotta go let the dog out.
Yeah, I mean, I think of golf.
Yeah.
You know, I live by myself, and I'm like, well, if I turn a morning tea time into a few patio beers, all of a sudden I'm like, man, that's 10 hours almost.
Yeah.
You know, 8 hours at the very least.
Right.
And you're getting to the point where that's not fair to a dog. So all these things going into my decision.
A lot of things enter into the equation.
And
for
I'm sure
but they're also, you know, very, very rewarding. And I don't think it's generally like not a decision that you know, if you're ready for it, it's not a decision that you'll regret.
Totally. Let's do the last one here, Barrett. Hey, Brett, and yes, love the pod. I have a wedding coming up at the end of the month in my hometown. For reference, I live across the country from where I grew up and don't get home much or get to see these friends too often. I'm heading there single, and I'm pumped to run into some old flames. And I took a few days off work to get there Thursday to enjoy more of the weekend. My question is, am I wrong to be more excited about Thursday and Friday night getting to run back to hometown bars than I am for the actual wedding? Do y'all tend to have a favorite part of a weekend or wedding weekend that's not the ceremony/reception itself? Thanks. I'm excited for this guy.
Yeah.
Cross-country wedding, go back to the hometown. I get it.
Yeah.
Like I would do the same thing, and I have done the same thing in Saratoga. Thursday night, you get in, and, you know, a smaller group of friends, but you get to see some of the old, and you're not exactly tied to the wedding formalities and itinerary just yet. And then Friday night, you know, the rehearsal dinner, if you are or are not a part of that, and then usually hit some sort of brewery, bars, whatever. I get this. And once I read this question, I was like, man, I kind of enjoy the Thursday, Friday activities sometimes more than the Saturday night.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's wrong at all to be more excited about that. Yeah, weddings are great and they're fun, but they, there's structure to them, and it's not, it's an event, and guess what? It's not about you. So, right. So while it's a great opportunity to have fun and see friends and celebrate some friends that are tying the knot. Yeah. I mean, like we're saying, like Thursday and Friday are the times where you get to run it back and do whatever you want and hang out and go to the bars and do whatever else. I don't necessarily have a certain part of the wedding weekend, other than to say that, like, I agree that, like, especially when you're traveling like this for one, where it's not where you live already, I kind of imagine that you'll reach out to friends and you'll schedule a lunch here or patio beers here or maybe a dinner on Thursday or Friday night that's outside of the wedding. And those are always the other part of it is that, like, everybody is excited for the wedding on Thursday and Friday. And that energy and atmosphere trickles into everybody's attitudes. Mm-hmm. So that it's all part of the build up to the wedding in the first place. So I don't think it's not like it's mean to be excited about those nights maybe more than you are about the wedding itself. Yeah, that's a great point. It almost has that energy is palpable because everybody has it. Everybody knows what you're here for, and it's like the before a game almost, you kind of get that energy and you can feed off that in those nights. Granted, you'll probably take one or two of them entirely too deep and wake up Saturday. Yes. Saturday's like, oh, that's the only danger. That's the only danger is that you do it, you overdo it Thursday, Friday, and then you're like not on your A game for the wedding.
Your luggage on Saturday. Yeah. You wake up. I've had a few tee boxes on Saturday morning where I'm standing over the ball like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But I think the hometown plays a factor here too.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you travel to, San Diego for a wedding, that's not my hometown, but I'm still going to have fun Thursday, Friday. It's still bars. It's still whatever. My hometown's entirely different because that runs the risk of inviting more people out on Thursday, and then all of a sudden you feel very comfortable at the bars. You see people and here we go. So, no, you're not wrong for that. Just make sure you leave enough energy for Saturday.
Yes. Yeah.
Because nothing like the bride. Personal anecdote here. One of my buddies, shouts to Christian, great dude. One of his groomsmen was like standing with us in line during the wedding ceremony, and he was like leaning on the guys because he couldn't stand up. He was that hungover, and the bride is daggers into this guy in the line because she can tell he's about to fall over, and she's like, if you fall over during my wedding, I am going to murder you. And so just be respectful of the bride here.
Yeah, you gotta be ready to get through the ceremony. Yep. And if you're in the wedding, then standing up there for the ceremony, and that's the homework that you do for the reception afterwards. And so you got to be ready to handle that.
Save enough juice for it. Barrett, that was a blast, man.
Yeah,
thank you.
Great questions.
Before we get out of here, we do a segment called Shower Thoughts, which is could be an observation, something you're ticked off about, generally anything you think of in the shower that takes up a chunk of your day in your brain. Okay. So I'll lead off with an example of my shower thought that I've had recently. I was bouncing back and forth between Houston and Austin, which I know you've done a number of times.
Many times.
And I was doing the Interstate 71 to I-10 route. So the southern route instead of 290, which I call the northern route. I-10 is filled with about 30 miles of construction currently. It's an absolute nightmare. And moving to Texas and driving on Texas interstates, I've learned that I have a new phobia. I have a new fear. And that fear is driving in work zones with concrete shoulders that are about 6 inches from my door. And the anxiety I get and the white knuckleness I feel, it's because I speed anyway.
Right.
But when I have a shoulder to my left and an 18-wheeler on my right, I feel like Paul Walker, and I feel like the Paul Walker outcome will be similar.
Yeah.
I existentially dread these drives now to the point where I am rerouting my entire next years of my life to avoid I-35 and I-10.
Yeah, that's when you talk about that, like I have not. It's crazy. I have not driven back to Houston in I think like almost 2 years now.
Wow, okay.
Which is insane. But what this reminds me of is the drive to Dallas.
Yes.
Is the I-35 drive up to Dallas is where whether we were going up there for the Texas OU game or a friend's wedding or to just to visit with people. Yeah, man, that's always on 35 somewhere is where you end up next to that concrete block, like feeling like it's in your car. And it sucks. I don't have a fix for you, Brett.
Nope, I no fix at all except some happy pills.
Yeah,
but.
just 10 and 2, 10 and 2. Phone down on the console. Don't try to change the radio too much.
No, I turn up like Bat Country just all the way, and I'm just here we go. Like just let's white knuckle this, man. But I've learned that I really don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so this is funny. I've been thinking about this for a couple of days, and I could not fit it in on either of the podcasts that I've done this week.
Okay.
Just didn't make sense, and so I'm happy to actually have this moment here. We are at home a lot, and I'm a big snacker.
Okay.
So over the course of the pandy, I have been experimenting with snacks, going in and out of phases, what I'm having for lunch, what I'm snacking on. I was recently on a microwave popcorn kick.
Oh, okay.
Then there was my pistachio phase.
Sure.
And right now, I've moved into just this week. I've determined that the best snack is Pringles. Doritos get the love. Everybody loves a Dorito.
Okay.
But you break into a red can of classic Pringles.
Ooh.
They are not lying with the once you pop, you can't stop.
You are speaking my language, Barrett Dudley.
It's crack in these tubes.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm a Pringles boy now, and I don't know how long this phase is going to run, but like I can't. I'm itching to get back to the grocery store so that I can buy more Pringles.
What is you're a OG red can.
OG red can classic flavor.
Do you mix it up at all?
So you typically, if I'm presented with other flavors of Pringles, I will of course dabble. Sour cream and onion is a big one, and isn't there like a weird pizza flavor that's kind of good?
There's pizza. Pizza's white can, phenomenal.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm messing with the Buffalo Ranch.
Okay.
That I cannot stop eating.
Yeah.
Road trip. You have a road trip order, I'm sure, where you're in the car for the next 3 hours. Gigantic Smart Water, thing of crispy M&Ms, the green package, and the barbecue Pringles, the purple can.
Okay.
I'm a Pringle boy too.
But the just the way that they stack and the thinness of them and how you grab 10 at a time, and it's like it's a genius snack that I feel like doesn't get the love that it deserves as just kind of one of those classic like snacking road trip pleasures.
Totally. It's a middle of the lineup player, right? Where you know it's going to hit 290 and put up like 80 to 90 RBIs.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get the love. It doesn't get the free agency contract.
Nope.
It's somebody you need in your lineup to win championships.
Yep. So
I need some Pringles.
Yeah, been burning on Pringles this week, man.
I love that. You are absolutely right. And you know what? Pringles deserve to be dumped into a large, like Tostitos scoops. If Pringles were served in a bag instead of a tube, they might be more popular than Doritos. I'm gonna throw that take out there, Adam. You hear that? You hear that?
They're so thin that you risk the breakage, which is obviously you get to the bottom of a can of Pringles, you deal with the breakage fallout.
You also deal with the
arm. Yeah. Yes, that's an issue. But yeah, if they weren't in a tube, there's also no question that I would just like eat an entire bag of them in one sitting.
Yeah. That's fair.
The tube allows you to gauge exactly how much you've had. So you pop a can, you realize that you've eaten half of it, and you're like, whoa, gotta save the other half for tomorrow.
Literally have to. Oh man, well Barrett Dudley, that was fun. I'm trying to find your pizza flavor.
I don't know. That just I've not had it recently. That just rung a bell as like as a Pringle flavor that I have enjoyed in the past.
They have the new is it Pringles Scorchin'.
Okay, no, I don't even know.
It's
That's
like hot Pringles.
I'm not like a long time Pringle boy.
Recently.
I recently was like, hey, Pringles sound good, and I picked up a can, I brought it home, and I was like, why aren't people talking about Pringles?
I couldn't agree more, Barrett. Pringles need more love. Barrett Dudley. That'll do it for the Mail-In Podcast.
Thanks again for having me, Brett.
Where can the folks find you at?
Yeah, go check out the Club Cool podcast, available wherever you listen to the other Wash Media properties. And you can follow us on Instagram at Club Cool Pod. And if you just want to follow along with the personal account, I'm at Barrett Dudley across all the platforms.
Beautiful. That was a blast. Adam, thank you. Barrett, thank you. Hit us at Mail-In Podcast on Twitter or Instagram to submit more content, or hit the hotline 888-362-MAIL. That's 888-362-6245. We will catch you all next week. Have a good one.